All right, so we're almost there. The Eagles are almost on the clock. We're going to have to wait a long time. They do pick at 32, obviously, because we are the Super Bowl champions. But there's a lot of decisions to make. The Eagles are in a very funny situation, a very weird situation that they put themselves in, but it's not necessarily a bad one. We'll talk about that, and I'll also talk about what I think the mindset going forward or going into this draft should be for the Eagles, and why I don't think maybe I'm gelling with everybody else in Eagles Nation as far as this draft goes. So let's talk about it.
You want Philly food?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so the Eagles draft in a couple days. I mean, we're what, 7, 8 days away, maybe less by the time you guys see this video. It is all cylinders firing, all those, type of words you want to use, all those adjectives. It's time to go. The Eagles need to make some decisions, and they need to make some decisions for the now and for the future. Obviously, we got a lot of young players on this team, which is not a bad thing, right? Got a lot of young players on this team that have performed very well, very early in their career. Guys like Jalen Carter come to mind, but there's also others. So we're going to have to pay a lot of people. Obviously, I already kind of started that with Zach Bond in this offseason. We saw some guys that maybe were some fan favorites go, but today what I want to do is not just talk your ear off, but I want to go through a mock draft, and I kind of want to slowly talk you through what I would do in certain scenarios and kind of what I'm hoping to see out of the Eagles this year in the draft, because I think they can move around a lot. So without further ado, let's hop right into that. And we're here. So I'm going to be using Pro Football Network. I just always use them. I always feel like they give me varied results. So I love the varied results, and I want to get that today. Maybe we'll do two, maybe we'll do one. We'll see how the first one goes, and we'll go from there. Now, if you guys like this type of content and want to see more of this beautiful face, because I have not been uploading as much as I should be, and I do apologize for that, but I'm trying to get back on it. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family if you want to see more content. So we're going to hop right into this. Obviously, we're going to take Abdul Carter first, right? I mean, that's what everybody would love to see. But we get to 32. Now, we are going to get some trade offers, and hopefully we get some realistic ones here. We don't. As an Eagles fan, I would love to see us move down. I know that there's some guys that Eagles fans love. We're getting connected to Nick Scorton right now. Walter Nolan, is a very good player, and I keep seeing him fall down on these mock drafts. I don't know if that's going to happen in real life. Jahad Campbell, another very interesting guy. Obviously, he goes a little high here. I don't know if he goes that high. He's coming off of an injury, dealing with some things. So that'll be interesting to see where he goes. Eagles could do for another linebacker. I don't think they will do it in the first round. Malachi Starks, another guy that people are very connected to. Would not mind it at all. Colston Loveland, another guy I really, really like. And if he drops down to 32, I would not be mad at the Eagles going ahead and taking him. Here in this type of situation, if this is where we had to, live, I don't like any of the trade offers. I'm not, insane about any of them. I would love to trade back. I think that that's your best value in this draft. When you look at the top guys, obviously you got a Jackson Dart there. I think that there's teams that would be willing to shoot a shot at Jackson Dart and not just shoot their shot, but you're also getting that extra year of, you get what's the word I'm looking for? The option on that 5th year. Now, the Browns, they took Abdul Carter. That's the type of team that I wouldn't be surprised if they called us. Let's see what draft picks they have. For the sake of time, I'm not going to do a trade because I would have to really, really dive deep into who could maybe make this work, because I think that you have players that you can throw in trades, right? We all know that maybe Dallas Goedert is a guy that you trade off of if you want to move up for a guy like Colston Loveland or maybe a Tyler Warren. If God is nice to us, the football gods are nice to us. But some names that I see as far as this pick goes are Mason Taylor. I've seen a lot of people starting to like Mason Taylor as of late. I like the kid. I think he's a very good player. Obviously, Jason Taylor's son. So, you got that football pedigree. He's a well-rounded player, and I see him just jumping up boards because of that. I do like him. I like him in the same sense that I like a Gunnar Helm, though, and I don't think you're getting a significant amount of value over a Gunnar Helm or Jake Briggenstool with where they're getting drafted. I don't think that you have to reach for a tight end in the first round. Again, if you trade back maybe a couple spots and then you take a Mason Taylor or even a Harold Fannin, who we just hired, his head coach, maybe that makes sense, but I just don't think it makes sense right here. Defensively, you're looking at, I mean, I know a lot of people want safeties. Unfortunately, Malachi Starks is gone. After Malachi, I don't think that there's many players that I would fall in love with as far as safety goes. I think that you're kind of, you're better off kind of waiting. We did bring Jalen Reed in for a visit. We did speak with Andrew Makuba. That could be interesting. Who else on here did we talk to, if anybody? I believe we talked to a couple more guys. Nobody that's sticking out to me. Again, safety is not a spot that I would really reach on. Now, cornerback, I've said this before. I do think that the Eagles are in the market for a cornerback. I think that when you look at the Eagles situation as far as, again, you look at the age that they have. You have very young corners, and you don't know what you have at that cornerback number 2 spot. I felt very comfortable keeping, or I feel very comfortable keeping Cooper DeJean at that slot cornerback spot just because of what it adds. I feel like he's just a different beast. I really do. I feel like he's a different beast in that slot. He's so versatile. So I would not be against getting one of these guys. I like a Siobhan Revel. I like a Trey Amos. I like a Azarius Thomas. I think you can get him maybe in the second. Maybe not where we are, but at the end of the day, I like a lot of these guys. Edge is another spot that I know a lot of people are really, really looking to strengthen, which I definitely agree with. You lose a Josh Sweat, you lose a Brandon Graham, you have very young defensive linemen. Obviously, they played very well last year. You lose a Milton Williams, so you want to get somebody that can get after that passer. You want to get after that quarterback. Landon Jackson's a very interesting prospect in the sense that he has all the measurables, a very athletic, very big, lanky guy. He does get stood up a lot, and that's something that, you're going to have to kind of train out of him. JT Tuamalo, a guy that I feel like is a lot better than people are giving him credit for, but maybe not a first rounder. Princely, a guy that I see a lot of people talking about and came in for a visit. I'm not even going to try and say Oladejo. I'm not even going to try and say his first name. I think he goes by Femi, so we'll go with that. But he came in for a visit. He's another guy that I really, really like. And after that, I mean, there are still some guys on this board. So I don't think that you have to reach. Defensive tackle is another spot that maybe is not the biggest of needs because you do feel like you have guys that can step up. You obviously want to see what happens with Jordan Davis. You're going to have to talk about his 5th-year option soon. Jalen Carter is that guy. He's going to get paid a lot of money. But you got some guys in the back wings that could come in and fill. So maybe it's not a number 1 need. I'm going to look again at edge. Again, I wish I could move back. If I stuck in this position, if I'm the Eagles and I'm stuck in this position, I'm probably going to go cornerback. All right. A lot of people like Trey Amos. Again, a very good player, very consistent. I think that he's just a guy that you got to coach up. I think that a lot of these guys are. I really like Siobhan Revel, just the size and everything. He's coming off an injury. At 32, do you want to just take the risk? I'm going to do that. I'm going to take the risk at 32. Again, I like a lot of these cornerbacks, but I think that if you get Siobhan Revel, you have size on the outside as far as your cornerbacks go. And then on top of that, you have a guy that could be an elite player. I think that if he wasn't injured last year, he would probably be one of your top 15 guys in this draft. So I'm going to go with Siobhan Revel. Let me know what you guys think in the comment about Siobhan Revel. Again, I think that the ceiling is very high for him. So we'll see what happens. Now we are at pick number 64, and we're just not going to get trade offers, y'all. That's what it's looking like for this one. But if you guys enjoy this, we can keep doing this. We could do another one very soon. So I am in love with Femi at this spot. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be very hard to tell me not to take him, but I also really like Makuba at this spot. Now, the challenge here is, who are my tight ends? Harold Fannon's still there. Gunnar Helm is still there. We don't pick, till 96. So now it becomes what are you more willing to miss out on? Offensive lineman, I wouldn't mind an offensive lineman, more of a guard. And let me know who I'm missing. Who would you have picked in that first round that was still there? Who would you have picked here that's, still here, I should say? I'm still looking at that defense, and it's hard for me to say no to Femi right now. I think that he's a guy that he will eat off the snaps that you give him. Makuba is just screaming at me right now, though, because the drop-off is way more at safety than it is at corner. Because if I can get a Kyle Kennard, if I can get a Josiah Stewart, I don't hate it. If I can get a David Walker, I don't hate it. But after Makuba, I'm probably hoping for Jalen Reed, a Malachi Moore, Winston Jr. if he could stay there. I'm gonna go with the edge position. I'm gonna go with Femi. I think that that's a good pick for the Eagles. Again, you throw him into our rotation. I think you have a dog. You have somebody that's gonna be able to get after that quarterback at a high rate. So we finally get a couple trade offers. Don't want to move out of this completely. I wish this came with another pick. I really don't want to get out of the top 100. So let me see what happened at that safety position. So kind of what I said, we're hoping for Jalen Reed, Malachi Moore. All right, now let me look at my tight ends. You still have Gunnar Helm. I love this. I'm not going to lie. I've seen people talk about Luke Lockett. I don't hate that pick at all. I don't think that that's a bad pickup at all. I'm not going to overthink it. I really do think that you go ahead and you get yourself a tight end that can compete with all the guys that you brought in. Shamar Turner there is an interesting player as well. I think that Gunnar Helm gives you... Yeah, so look, I like Gunnar Helm a lot. I think that Gunnar Helm is a very well-rounded tight end. He gives you that pass catching ability, but he also gives you that blocking ability. And I think that if you're looking to move on, which it seems like the Eagles are, or at least are open to moving on from a Dallas Goedert, you want a guy that can be out there for 3 downs. You don't want a guy that you have to tip your hand. You know, every time he's out there, you know, oh, they're gonna run the ball now because or they're going to throw the ball now because Grant Calcaterra is out there. They're going to run the ball now because whoever they want to put in there as their pass blocker. So if you can get a guy that can be a 3-down guy, or at least you can develop him into that, and I think Gunnar Helm is that guy. So I'm cool with that. This would be very interesting. I know the Eagles fans would probably hate it, but getting a guy like Quinn Ewers, it would be interesting, you know, to kind of develop. Now, would it happen? I don't know. Now, I do want to address the offensive line. You know, I would not be against going offensive line early. I've said it before. I think old boy from Oregon is very, very good. Now, I'm a big fan of his. I think that, you know, people haven't been giving him the flowers that he deserves. I think that there's some offensive linemen, especially interior offensive linemen, that I could see going early in this draft. But I'm going to go with a guy that we did bring in, Jalen Travis. I'm going to go with Jalen Travis, man. I mean, you're getting an athletic guy, and I think that that's what I really like about the guy from Oregon, or Josh Connerly. I don't know, I just keep saying guy from Oregon. But that's what I really like about Josh Connerly, is that he's a very athletic player. I can see him getting open, or not getting open, but getting wide on those screens and just pushing guys out of his way, you know, kind of like you see with Jordan Mailata and the rest of our offensive line. So I feel like you see it there, 6'7", 339 pounds. He's athletic. He's a big guy, very impressive, just physical stature, played at a smaller school. So I think that that's kind of what's holding him back. But I'm going to go with Jalen Travis. I think that he's a guy that you give to Stoutland and you say, hey, go do your work, brother. And I think he'll give you some nice returns. Now, we get to a spot here where you kind of are taking flyers, right? Again, I wouldn't be against maybe going for a quarterback, somebody you could develop. If you want to move on from somebody, in that you already moved on from Kenny Pickett, but, you know, if maybe you get some value out of DTR or something like that happens. So it'll be interesting to see if they go with a quarterback in this draft, because I think that towards the end of the draft, you're going to have some pretty decent guys that had good college careers. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think that the best value this late in the draft is going to be your running backs. Devin Neal is very interesting. Obviously, they brought in a Jaden Blue. Jordan James, I constantly see down here. Kyle Mungai, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's another guy that I really like. We're not going after Isaiah Bond. If you know, you know. I really think that your best value here is going to be running back. There's a lot of good defensive tackles as well. Cam Jackson's a guy I love, but we can, you know, I'm probably going to pick him up. I'm going to go with who I think would be the most sense here, make the most sense here, I should say. And again, Jake Brennan-Stool is a guy that I think is pretty good as well. Wouldn't mind if you weren't able to get a Gunnar Helm earlier in this draft, if that's what your pick was here. Devin Neal, I'm going to take him out of Kansas. I mean, up and down career, it is what it is. I know a lot of people are going to just look at him as college football 25, and that's what they're going to base who he is off of. But he's a very good player, and I just think that there's so many good running backs in this draft. I mean, you can just to kind of look at it, a lot of these guys will get some burn in the NFL. I mean, I could see Kyle carving a role. I could see Jordan James carving a role. Jaquez Hunter, I could see carving a role. Jaden Blue's an interesting guy. You know, there's some guys here. Trevor Etienne is an interesting guy. There's some guys all the way down to the bottom that you can make an argument could get drafted. I mean, there's a lot of guys at the running back position this year, so I would not be mad for the Eagles to go ahead and get one. Now, I did kind of allude to it, and if he's still there, and it looks like he is, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a guy that I've maybe overhyped a little bit. I don't want to keep on overhyping him, but he's a big guy, man. He's not that athletic, but sometimes you just need those dogs. Sometimes you need those dogs in the middle of that line that can just go out there and push a pile. I think he's one of them. Let me see if my other guy is here real quick before. Yeah, now we're gonna go with Cam Jackson. Bam Bam Cam. Bam Bam Cam. Now again, these are all just kind of you're throwing darts, and it's funny because do you go with another tight end? Because having a Jake Brennan-Stool doesn't totally kill you. Do you go with another tight end, even though you brought in 20 this offseason? Most of those guys probably won't even make the roster, so do you just keep on bringing in good competition at the position? I don't know. I think that maybe you look at wide receiver. This is a guy that I've been kind of keeping my eye on is LeJohntay Wester. He's an interesting dart throw. He was very productive, if I'm not mistaken, and has size on him. Yeah, 107 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. Obviously went to a small school. I think I'm going to mess with him. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to see what he is. Sometimes you got to go after production. You know, sometimes you just got to look at production. All right, so I had to think for a second. I had to look kind of through the weeds and look who was still available. I'm going to go with a guy that they brought in for a visit and a guy that, look, he's staying close to home. It'll be interesting to see if they get Kobe King. I feel like he has all the physical tools. I don't think that he's necessarily put it all together yet, but it seems like our linebacker coach understands how to get the most out of his guys. So I'm going to go with Kobe King here. Again, you guys let me know what you would have done a little bit differently, how you feel about this draft. Is this a perfect draft? No. Is this, exactly what I think might happen? Maybe not, but I think that the mindset is there. I think that when you look at the mindset of this draft, you want to get players that are able to not only impact your now, but be a part of your future. We have a lot of guys that are going to be on contract that we're going to have to figure out. So it's a good time to figure it out, and it's a good time to get players that can, at the very least, compete for those spots on the opposite ends of some of these guys that are going to be part of your future. So I want to look quickly at the final results, just quickly look at our draft. I want to know what you guys think. Give me a grade. I know you guys probably will hate it. Maybe some of you will love it. If I look at this, if this is what happened, the Eagles, finish drafting and this is what we walk away with, especially if we're not trading, I think that you get a good haul. You got Siobhan Revel. If that works out, and maybe that's a big if. But if that pans out, you have a top 15 player out of this draft. I truly do believe that. Femi, another guy that I think that could be a first round pick in my opinion. I think that if he goes in there and he's part of your rotation, you're not asking him to go out there and be a star right away, and that always helps players. We've seen it help players time and time again, but you're getting a guy that can go out there and give you very meaningful snaps very early in his career and throughout his career. So maybe he's a guy you can hold on to and just kind of build that edge room a little bit more. Gunnar Helm, a guy that I've talked about endlessly. I think I was one of the highest people on him early on in this draft process. I'm telling you, go back to my Twitter and look at how I was talking about Gunnar Helm and how much he's risen over that time. So shout out to Gunnar Helm. It would be interesting to see if he became an Eagle. I think it would be fun to see what he could bring to this team. Jalen Travis, guy that I did not know much about until I had to know more about him. Shout out to Devin Jackson. He was a guy that the Eagles brought in for a top 30 visit. I didn't know much about him prior to that. Devin Neal, a guy that I think everybody knows about. Not much to say there. He's a good player. Think that he would add something to your running back room, add a dimension that maybe wouldn't say you're missing, but something that can definitely add to that room. Cam Jackson, a guy that I think that just brings, maybe at this point in his career, a one-way ticket. But if you're getting rid of Jordan Davis, maybe he's your cheap replacement. Maybe he's your cheap option to replace what Jordan Davis is so good at, which is just clogging up the middle. LeJohntay Wester, a guy that, again, I'm kind of learning more about, but looking at what he did, I think it was Florida Atlantic, he was a very productive player, and at 165, I'll take a shot with you. I'll take a shot on you. I'll take a flyer, as they like to say. Kobe King, another guy that they brought in for a visit. I don't think that he's necessarily been everything that, maybe teams wanted him to be. As a Penn State fan, I definitely left scratching my head sometimes, but it is what it is. I think that this is a draft that you are looking at as a fan and you're saying, all right, let's see how this progresses. That's really it. I don't think that in this draft that there's a lot of players that are top tier talents. People are going crazy that Howie Roseman said that he doesn't have 32 first round talents. There's never 32 first rounds. That's very, very rare that you have 32 people that you think are first round talents. Usually in between like 15 to 18. I mean, that's the most I've heard was like 18. So I don't think that really means much. But what it does mean for the Eagles is that they're going to have to be smart with who they pick and how they pick. So if you are at 32, don't stretch on people. Don't reach for people. Don't, do things that don't make sense. Make it make sense, Howie, and you've done a great job of doing that over the past couple of years. So, guys, let me know what you're thinking. How do you feel about this draft? If you've made it this far, comment down below your favorite play from the Super Bowl because I want to know. And be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. But other than that, it feels good to be back. I hope you guys enjoyed this video because I enjoyed making it. But, yeah. Y'all know what it is. It's Fly Goes Flying. And we are out here. Peace!
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for
Yeah.
you.
Fly was flying on the team. Touchdown, touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling with Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man soft. Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randolph. Season head, early time to do him in. Your boy Philly Fresco, thanks for tuning in.